Welcome to this Vital Elixir Explainer. Before we dive in, just a quick reminder that everything we talk about today is for educational purposes, not medical advice. Okay, so I want you to imagine this for a second. You wake up, you roll over in bed just to check the clock, and suddenly, the entire room is violently spinning. The walls are tilting, the ceiling feels like it's rushing right at you, and this awful wave of intense nausea just completely washes over you. You grip the edges of the mattress, but honestly, it feels like you're falling through a gravity-free zone. It's absolutely terrifying. And well, that is exactly what happened to Margaret. She's a vibrant 58-year-old woman whose story we're going to follow today. We're looking at her journey to really understand a super distressing issue that hits so many of us as we get a bit older: sudden dizziness and vertigo.
So, right in that totally disorienting moment, Margaret's heart is just pounding out of her chest. She closes her eyes, and this very silent, very real fear creeps in. She asks herself the scariest question: am I having a stroke? Like so many adults over 45 who get hit with severe dizziness out of nowhere, she felt that immediate, heavy dread of becoming a burden. The fear of losing her driving privileges, and ultimately losing her independence. It isn't just a physical sensation at all. It's a massive emotional shock to your entire system.
Well, Margaret did what any of us would do. She managed to get herself to the doctor. And here is where she ran into a really frustrating journey, one that honestly might sound incredibly familiar to you. They did a quick check, told her blood pressure was totally fine, and then they kind of just brushed her concerns off. She was actually told, oh, it's just an inner ear thing, or even worse, it's just aging. They handed her a prescription for a dizziness pill, something like meclizine, and told her to just take it easy. But weeks went by, and that pill, it just left her feeling groggy and completely out of it. It acted like a heavy blanket over her symptoms, but it didn't actually fix the root problem. Every single time she looked up to reach the top shelf in her kitchen, boom, the room spun all over again. Okay, let's really dive into this, because this right here was the incredible turning point for Margaret. She finally learned that the most common cause of this very specific type of vertigo after age 45 isn't an infection, and it is definitely not just aging. It's actually often just a simple mechanical plumbing glitch inside your head. Yep, a plumbing glitch. It's caused by these microscopic crystals that have literally just fallen out of place in your inner ear. And you know what? Once you understand that, it transforms this whole terrifying ordeal into something that is entirely manageable.
But listen, safety first. Absolutely crucial. Before we talk about how to fix this little plumbing glitch, we have to know how to distinguish between a harmless mechanical ear issue and a true medical emergency. So if the vertigo is brief, like maybe it lasts 10 to 60 seconds, and it's only triggered when you change your head position, well, that's likely just that mechanical ear glitch. But, and this is important, if the room is constantly spinning even when you are sitting perfectly still, or if it comes with sudden weakness, that is an entirely different story.
Here at Vital Elixir, our biggest goal is keeping you aging safely and confidently. So I want you to memorize this clear, undeniable checklist. We call them the 5 Ds of a medical emergency. If your dizziness ever comes with diplopia, which is just a fancy word for double vision, dysarthria, meaning your speech is slurred, dysphagia, which is difficulty swallowing, drop attacks, where you suddenly just fall without actually losing consciousness, or dysmetria, which is severe sudden clumsiness in your arms or legs, you need to call 911 immediately. No waiting around. Those are major red flags for a central nervous system emergency, like a stroke. Always consult your medical professional if you experience any of these.
Now, on the flip side, if your symptoms are super brief and they're triggered only by movement, exactly like Margaret's were, you were likely dealing with classic BPV. Now I know, that is a wildly intimidating medical acronym, but let's demystify it, put it into plain, reassuring English. Benign simply means it isn't life-threatening. Paroxysmal just means it comes in these sudden, really brief attacks. Positional means it only happens when your head moves in a very specific way. And vertigo is that false, actually, it's more like a violent illusion of spinning. The big takeaway here, it is not your brain failing you. It is just your ear sending a really bad signal.
To really understand why this happens, let's picture a snow globe right inside your head. So, deep past your eardrum is your vestibular system, and that's the control center that handles all your balance. Part of this system uses these 2 gravity-sensing organs, and they're covered in this sticky, gel-like membrane. Sitting right on top of this gel are tiny, microscopic calcium carbonate crystals. Think of them exactly like the heavy snow in a snow globe. They weigh down that gel to tell your brain exactly which way is down and where gravity is pulling you at any given second. And this snow globe analogy brilliantly shows us the actual physical mechanism of this vertigo. See, as we get a little older, that gel membrane naturally degrades just a bit. So, step 1, the membrane weakens. Step 2, some of those heavy snow crystals break off. Step 3, they float away and tumble right into your semicircular canals. Now these are fluid-filled tubes where those crystals absolutely positively do not belong. So step 4, when Margaret rolled over in bed, those heavy crystals tumbled through that fluid and created a massive tidal wave. This huge wave bends the little hair cells in your ear, and they start screaming at your brain, "Hey, we are spinning." But meanwhile, your eyes are looking at a stationary bedroom wall saying, "No, we aren't. We are perfectly still." And it's exactly that violent contradiction that causes the severe vertigo.
Now you might be thinking, can't I just shake my head and fix this? Please don't. Because 85% of the time, these rogue crystals fall into one very specific tube called the posterior canal. It is highly discouraged to try and fix this yourself using DIY YouTube videos. You've got multiple canals in each ear, right? And if you guess the wrong ear or the wrong canal, you can actually wedge those little crystals even deeper. You can make your vertigo significantly worse. You really need a professional to map exactly where the snow has settled.
But here is the wonderful news. A vestibular physical therapist can do a super simple diagnostic check. It's called the Dix-Hallpike test to find out exactly where those crystals are hiding out. And once they know where they are, they use something called the Epley maneuver. It's amazing. By turning your head in a very specific guided sequence, they literally just use gravity to gently roll those heavy crystals right out of the tube and back into the main chamber where they belong. The fluid stops sloshing around. And for so many people just like Margaret, this quick little maneuver can effectively resolve that severe vertigo in literally just a couple of minutes.
And you know, this right here is exactly why Margaret's dizziness pills were never going to be a long-term solution. Look, vestibular suppressants are completely fine. Sometimes they're even necessary for the first 24 to 48 hours of a really bad acute attack, just to keep you from being sick. We absolutely do not judge anyone for needing that kind of immediate relief. But taking them long-term, that acts like a thick, heavy blanket over your brain. See, your brain actually needs to feel that mismatch between your eyes and your ears so it can recalibrate itself. If you just keep suppressing the signal with pills every day, your brain never adapts, and honestly, you'll just stay feeling unsteady for months.
Now, even after Margaret had her crystals successfully put back into place by a pro, she still felt this lingering fogginess, just a general unsteadiness, kind of like feeling a little dizzy just walking down a really busy grocery store aisle. Her brain had been pretty traumatized by all those false signals, and now it was acting super hypervigilant. This is where vestibular rehabilitation therapy, or VRT for short, became her absolutely essential next step toward a true transformation. It is all about gently, safely rewiring your brain's compensation pathways. And I want to give you a safe, really tangible daily ritual you can do right at home to help retrain your brain. It's called gaze stabilization. So hold your thumb right out in front of you at arm's length. Lock your eyes firmly right on your thumbnail. Now, keeping your eyes glued to your thumb, I want you to slowly turn your head side to side just like you're shaking your head no. Then nod your head up and down like you're saying yes. Try doing this for about 30 seconds. This incredibly simple exercise actually trains your vestibulo-ocular reflex, and it teaches your brain how to trust your inner ear signals all over again. But remember, take it easy, go slowly, adapt to your own comfort level. And hey, if it causes severe nausea, just stop and take a break. At the end of the day, at Vital Elixir, we want you aging with massive confidence and strength, not living in fear of your own balance. So how exactly did Margaret stop this whole ordeal from ever happening again? Well, science has actually revealed a super fascinating link between reoccurring BPPV and two really simple factors, your calcium metabolism and the thickness of your inner ear fluid. Because those little ear crystals are literally made of calcium, your body needs adequate vitamin D to maintain them properly. And furthermore, chronic dehydration, that actually thickens the fluid in your inner ear, making this whole delicate mechanical system sluggish and way more prone to blockages.
So your actionable prevention protocol is simple, and it's twofold. First, make sure you are staying really well hydrated every single day. Keep that fluid moving. Second, at your very next doctor's checkup, ask your healthcare provider to test your vitamin D levels. Research actually suggests that if your levels dip below 40 nanograms per milliliter, you are at a significantly higher risk for that vertigo coming right back. Work with your doctor to see if a simple vitamin D supplement is right for you to hit that optimal target level. It is such a gentle, natural way to support your body's really delicate systems.
The best part of this whole story? Margaret got her life back. She got her independence back. And you don't have to live in fear of simply rolling over in bed either. Your balance is this magnificent, complex symphony. And sometimes, it just needs a little fine-tuning. Have you ever experienced this terrifying room spin yourself? Please, share your story down in the comments. It really helps others realize that they are not alone in this. Thank you so much for joining me for this Vital Elixir explainer. Remember to always consult your own doctor before making any big health changes. Keep learning, stay active, and I will see you next time.
Welcome back to Vital Elixir. I'm so glad you're here. You know, our mission is all about helping you age with strength, mobility, and confidence. And in today's explainer, we're diving into something so many of us deal with: midlife foot pain. But we're not just going to throw dry facts at you. We're actually going to follow a really relatable story to figure out the absolute truth behind this pain and uncover some safe, science-backed rituals to help you walk pain-free again. Now, just a quick reminder right off the bat, this explainer is strictly educational. It's not medical advice, so always check with your doctor. But the insights we're covering today, they might just be a real game changer for you. Let's get right into it.
So I want you to meet Eleanor. Honestly, Eleanor is a composite of so many incredible viewers we hear from every single day. Maybe her morning routine sounds familiar to you. She wakes up, swings her legs over the edge of the bed, stands up, and takes that very first step. And boom, a sharp, tearing, stabbing pain just shoots right through the bottom of her heel. She winces, kind of hobbles to the bathroom, and yeah, after a few minutes, it eventually loosens up into a dull ache. But that terrifying first step, it completely sets a painful tone for the rest of her day. And here is the truly heartbreaking part of that pain. Because of it, Eleanor starts sitting out. She starts skipping her morning walks. She sits on the park bench while her grandkids play. This right here is why foot pain is literally known as the silent killer of longevity. Think about it. When your feet hurt, you stop moving. And when we stop moving, we lose our independence, our heart health takes a hit, and we miss out on those vital, everyday moments that make life so great. And that loss of mobility is a tragedy, because honestly, our feet are biological masterpieces. Just to put it in perspective, there are 26 bones in a single foot. Add in 33 joints and over 100 muscles, tendons, and ligaments, and you have a structure perfectly engineered to absorb shock, adapt to uneven ground, and propel us forward with incredible efficiency. They are absolutely not supposed to feel like stiff, painful blocks of wood.
So what did Eleanor do? Well, she tried all the standard, old-school advice. She aggressively stretched her calves, went out and bought those heavily cushioned, ultra-stiff orthotic shoes, and popped some ibuprofen. But months rolled by and the pain never really went away. Why? Well, because Eleanor, like millions of adults over 45, was caught in what we call the shoe trap. Ironically, those super supportive shoes were actually making her feet weaker over time.
Okay, to find real relief for Eleanor, and maybe for you too, we have to look just beneath the skin. There's a thick bowstring down there that acts almost like a biological trampoline. It's called the plantar fascia. Every time you take a step, it stretches to absorb the impact, and then snaps back to push you forward. Now, Eleanor's doctor called her pain plantar fasciitis. You know, itis implies inflammation. But modern science has actually flipped the script on this. When researchers look at this chronic pain under a microscope, they aren't finding active inflammation. No way. They find disorganized, degenerated collagen. So the real issue is plantar fasciosis. It's a wear and tear degeneration issue. The tissue isn't inflamed. It's frayed, starved of blood flow, and frankly failing to repair itself.
Plus, we have to have a really honest conversation about aging here. As we pass age 45, something called fat pad atrophy happens. The natural thick fat pad under our heel and the ball of our foot naturally starts to thin out. We are literally losing our body's built-in shock absorbers. And that puts a ton of extra mechanical stress on our bones and that already frayed fascia.
So before we can rebuild Eleanor's foundation, we've got to unlearn some bad advice. Let's bust a few myths keeping your feet in pain. Myth number 1, aggressively stretching your calves helps. Actually, stretching aggressively just pulls on that already frayed, degenerated tissue we just talked about, which can often make things worse. Myth number 2, you need maximum cushion. Ah, the shoe trap. Highly cushioned, super stiff shoes actually act like a cast. They cause the tiny intrinsic muscles in your foot to just go to sleep and atrophy. And myth number 3, bunions are purely genetic. While your natural foot shape does play a role, bunions are heavily driven by decades of squeezing our feet into narrow, tapered shoes, throwing our whole alignment completely out of whack.
All right, now that we know what's actually going on, let's explore Eleanor's actionable 4-step transformation ritual. We're going to start treating the foot like the dynamic structure it actually is and rebuild its internal core. Fix number 1 is a daily 3-minute toe yoga routine. Think of this as physical therapy for your foot's core. Step 1, toe splays. Sitting barefoot, try to spread all your toes as wide as you can and hold for 5 seconds. Step 2 is the short foot. Keeping your toes flat, pull the ball of your big toe back towards your heel to dome your arch up. That fires up those deep muscles. And step 3, towel scrunches. Just use your toes to pull a hand towel across a smooth floor. Doing this strengthens those tiny deep muscles so they can finally take the heavy load off your plantar fascia.
Fix number 2 requires a very honest closet audit. You have to compare the shoe trap, those narrow, tapered toe boxes that cause bunions and rigid soles that cause weakness, against truly healthy footwear. What you actually want are shoes with a wide, foot-shaped toe box that lets your big toe anchor your balance. And you want a flexible sole that allows your foot to bend naturally so it can stay strong.
Now, safety first, okay? As a quick educational reminder, please consult your healthcare provider before changing up your routines. And listen, if you've spent 30 years in stiff shoes with elevated heels, your Achilles tendon is likely shortened. You absolutely must transition to flatter, wider shoes very, very gradually. We're talking just an hour or 2 a day over several months. You don't want to accidentally strain your calf or your Achilles. Gradual, sustainable progress is the name of the game here.
Moving on to fix number 3. This one targets that tissue degeneration directly. Because fasciitis is starved of blood flow, our main goal is to bring fresh, healing nutrients back to the area. So first, gently roll a lacrosse ball under your foot. Pause on the tender spots for about 30 seconds just to break up that tension. Second, use heat, not ice. Since this is an active inflammation, ice actually restricts the blood flow you desperately need to heal. Soaking your feet in warm Epsom salt water dilates the blood vessels and genuinely promotes recovery.
And finally, fix number 4 is all about the kinetic chain. Because remember, your foot doesn't work alone. If your glutes are weak, your knee caves in and your arch collapses. If your ankles are stiff, your foot is forced to overpronate to make up for it. By strengthening your hips with simple exercises like clamshells or glute bridges and mobilizing your ankles with some easy wall drills, you actually prevent the arch from collapsing and stop overworking that plantar fascia.
By adopting this gradual, 4-step ritual, Eleanor completely transformed her mornings. She stopped treating her feet like these rigid blocks of wood that needed to be braced and casted. Instead, she started treating them like the dynamic sensory organs they really are. And today, she is back on the trail. She's taking her morning walks, running around with her grandkids, and moving with real strength and confidence. Her story is proof that foot pain is not just some inevitable part of getting older. You absolutely can rebuild your foundation, eliminate that awful morning heel pain, and get your active life back.
So I'd love to hear from you. Which of these 4 fixes are you going to start today? Are you going to try the toe yoga, auditing your shoes, the warm Epsom soaks, or strengthening your kinetic chain? Let us know down in the comments. And remember to subscribe to Vital Elixir for more honest, science-backed strategies. I'm going to leave you with this one thought. If your feet are the literal roots of your body's tree, isn't it time we stop trapping them in tiny, stiff boxes and finally let them breathe? Protect your walk, and we'll see you in the next explainer.
Thank you for your time. Subscribe for more health education. Like the video and share it to help others stay informed.